You're watching Let's Talk About It with Raheem Mitchell. Love, family, and relationships.
Let's talk about it. Say I just heard about a show. Let's talk about it, talk about it. Where the independent artists go. Let's talk about it, talk about it. Niecy got a new EP. Let's talk about it, talk about it. Stephanie's doing comedy. Let's talk about it, talk about it. That girl from LA and that guy. Let's talk about it, talk about it.
And now your host of Let's Talk About It, Raheem Mitchell. Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk About It. I am your host, Raheem Mitchell. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's show is something very special. Tonight, I'm going to call this one Love, Family, and Relationships. Ladies always want to know what's on a man's mind. I want to ask him this question, but he'll never answer it. So I put a question out there to all the women. If you always want to ask a man a question, submit your questions here. And ladies and gentlemen, I have them right here. And today on my show, I have two gentlemen we're going to just answer every question that we can today. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my two guests. I have Mr.
Q.
And also Mr.
Devon.
So we have Mr. Q and Mr. Devon here today to answer your questions, ladies. But before we get started, let's find a little bit about the gentleman on my panel. Mr. Devon, you first. Tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Husband, father of 5 children. Age ranges from 4 to 19. Wow. Youth basketball coach. You know, that's kind of my passion. Mm-hmm. I just enjoy working with children with basketball, man. I'm a hooper at heart, so anything I could pass on to the kids, I really enjoy that. Right. As far as how I make a living, I do heating and air conditioning. Right. I'm a residential installation manager for a company called Fire and Ice Heating and Air, based out of Riverside, California.
Okay. All right. Yourself, sir.
Well, I do customer service now, but just like him, I work with kids. I coach football, right. Anywhere from the ages of, I try to catch the boys before they get too far in the teenage. So I start between 11 and 14, because I know for us men, that's our most pivotal point. And I try to teach them sports, not just for sports, but for life lessons, so that way when they get older, they can understand what camaraderie and brotherhood will get them in life.
All right. Now this question I want to put out there because I have seen it before, because I have a friend that coaches. Now, do you find it hard for say a woman comes out with her son, there's not a father in the home. So, and that woman wants her son to play, say she wanted him to play running back, and he can't play that position, or if she want her son to play shooting guard, and in your heart he can't play that position. So how do you actually let the woman know that he can play, but not at this particular position? How would you? Who I want to answer the question first? How do you break it down to the mother?
Well, for me, I just emphasize that every role on the team is important. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
I actually had that conversation with my team today. You know what I mean? Just because you didn't get the steal, you didn't get the stat, but what you did played a part in your teammate getting that stat. You know what I mean? So if you locking your player down on that side of the ball and it forces them to make a bad pass and your teammate got the steal, your teammate wouldn't have got the steal if you didn't play lockdown defense the way you did. So everything doesn't show up in the stat sheet. You know what I mean? Everybody just has to play their role. So at the end of the day, player A may score all the points, but if player B is not setting that screen to free him up to take those shots, then you don't get those points. So everybody has a role to play. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I think it's important for kids to learn it at an early age. Everybody's not going to be the star. Somebody got to do the dirty work. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
mine is a little different. I try not to discourage, because some kids don't know their talent at their age.
Right.
So what I try to do is I'll take and see what they can do. Because like I said, he may be a running back, but he may be too timid to be a running back. So I'm pretty sure he can understand what I'm saying. We try to instill confidence in them that they can do it.
That's right.
And the first thing is we don't teach, well, you can't. Right. We teach you can. You're the only person that's going to limit what you can do. And so my job is to take what talents you are, teach you how to use those talents to go to the next level. The next level. Those also challenge. I said those things transfer into life lessons to teach you that it's not impossible. It may be hard, but it's not impossible. But if you work hard at it, like you said, everything in life is a team thing.
Right.
I may be good at this, but you may be good at that.
Right.
So if I know my strengths coming up, I know that, hey, I might not be the best running back. I may not be the best point guard, but I know what I can do. Because certain games, so even in the pros, because I've seen Kobe do it one time. He had an off night shooting, but he got 22 rebounds.
Yeah.
And it didn't mean he wasn't no good, but it was at that night, my night was not here. So I had to alter my game at that point to help us win. It's the same thing in our relationships. Today I might not be on, but I got to do the right thing to help us go to the next level.
That's right. Yeah. And that's the same thing. Everybody wasn't understanding. Like, man, Dennis Rodman only got like 4 points. Yeah. But how many rebounds did he get?
40.
Yeah. Yeah. He got 40 points. Yeah, he got 40 boards.
Right.
And out of those boards, how many points did they get?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why, like you said, everybody play their role and things like that, which is the same thing with men and women in relationships. So, fellas, you guys know.
Let's get to it.
I have these questions.
All right.
that women want to know about. So, first question. They say, how do men feel about gender roles and old school values? Are they still relevant, or should we do away with them? Who want to handle that?
I'll let you go first.
Well, for me, I equate everything from a biblical standpoint.
Right.
Because in the Bible says God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore.
Yes.
Because gender roles are gender roles for a reason. If you watch animals, there's a male and a female. Because even in the Bible, he says that male and female made him of each kind. So without the roles, we cannot move forward as people. Mm-hmm. Because if we take our gender roles and make them binary or unilaterally, we won't be able to move forward properly. It's nothing wrong with wanting to have a different way, but you also have to understand, it's kind of like in sports, you have to learn the basics before you can be a superstar.
Right.
If I don't know how to pass properly, if I don't know how to block right, I can't go forward. If we don't know where we came from as a people, we not know where we're going as a people.
Right.
I mean, I completely agree with the statements that he made as far as from a biblical standpoint. I think we just kind of get too far left, you know what I mean? Where I understand where, you got some strong, independent women out there that, I guess you could say wear the pants in the relationship or whatnot.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I can see it both ways, you know what I mean? I can see it both ways from, more of a traditional standpoint. But then also from a standpoint, like I joke with my wife all the time, like, hey, I don't have a problem being a stay-at-home dad.
Right.
My wife gonna bring home the bacon. I'm gonna make sure that she ain't gonna never come home to no dirty house.
Right. Kids
gonna be taken care of. I'm confident in my masculinity to where if my wife's in a financial position to where this is how it's working for us, that's what's working for us. You know what I mean? So I see both sides of the coin. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Cause see, it's just the same as like because I have a friend of mine who's in this particular predicament now. His wife's big time executive. Now he's an actor trying to do his thing, but his wife is a big time executive. But she don't throw that in his face.
Right.
She makes that money. She puts that money in the account, and she's like, okay, what are we gonna do with this? Okay. She don't say this is my check. This is this. This is that. What can we do? So,
see, I think that's extremely important too, though, on how everything is being approached. Everybody got to be on the same page.
Right.
You know what I mean? So whatever decisions that you're making as far as with your family and your household, I mean, nobody want anything thrown in their face, let alone a man. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's extremely important. I mean, because me saying I'm willing to be a stay-at-home dad, that's going to be thrown out the window if every time my wife come home, she Hitler in this situation. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's different.
Right.
But like I said, and again, it goes back to the team sports, TEAM, together, everyone achieves more, everyone.
Right.
Because if we do it as a unit, I'm not fighting against you, and you're not fighting against me. You're not bringing this and holding this in my face.
Collective effort.
And then, yeah, exactly.
Right.
So if I'm doing everything I can to be the best male and the best man in this house, and you're doing everything you can to be the best woman and the best female in that house, our house will be great. Right. Because we're doing it together for the unit. It's not about me, it's about we.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So how do men feel about monogamy, and do they value it? Do you think most men today value monogamy?
Oh, man, that's
Let
a
me let me let me take this one
go
first.
ahead because
Okay,
that's a very
this
generalized
is a
question.
conversation I had with some female friends of mine.
Right.
A lot of women call themselves single mothers,
Right.
and they train these boys as a young age to be killers, and they've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 girlfriends as a young age. When you hit 12 and 13, now you got to tell him the 12 years he learned is not relevant. Now you go to 1. And it's like, but I've been doing this for 13 years.
Right.
So if I've been doing this for 13 years, now I'm going to 1, it's kind of confusing in his psyche. So now he has to understand it. There's nothing wrong with monogamy. By no means is it. But you have to understand the training, like I was having a conversation. You have to unlearn what you've learned to become effective in what you learn.
Right.
In order to be a man, you got to see a man. You have to see what the man is about. You have to understand what he does. As a monogamous man understands that when I come home, I don't have to be monogamous just at home. I can be monogamous in the street. Just because someone hits on me doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean I got to respond.
Right.
Because monogamy is more for self than it is for her. Because it puts the value on me as a man, and more than it does on her.
Right.
I agree with him wholeheartedly. I mean, I think it's a case by case basis. You know what I mean? Like every man is different. No two people are the same. You know, I'll take for example. You know, my older brother. You know, he's what I would call growing up. He was a man whore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's just simple and plain. You know,
Right.
Me personally, I wasn't as loose as my brother was. You know, growing up, but having that type of impression, that's the path that's being led in front of you.
Right.
It makes it kind of like in the black community, it's almost taboo to be with just one woman growing up. You know what I mean? And that's just being honest. You know,
Right.
it's the machismo, the macho-ness of like, oh yeah, you know, I got this many up under my belt, or you know, I tagged this one and tagged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I personally value it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm scared of STDs for one. So, you know what I mean? So, you know, that's just me personally. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
you know, it's to each its own. You know, at the end of the day, though, I do see a great deal of value. We got to teach these kids something. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I got daughters.
Yeah.
I got 2 daughters. You
That's
know,
it.
so that right there alone I think that's enough for any man to settle down and, you know,
Settle
be
down and
monogamous
chill.
with one woman, because you don't, I mean, you got to be example not only to our boys, but the example of what we would want our daughters to be accepting of. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because it's because a lot of women, some women, and even in their lyrics today, like for example, was I forgot her name. It's at the tip of my tongue, but Little Kim is singing with her, and it's saying so it's okay for a man to have 4 and 5 women, and it's okay, but when a woman does it, you consider her being a whore.
Right.
You know, so it's like I don't, you know, it's like you said, your brother, you consider your brother a man whore, right?
Right,
So
right.
if you want to be, if you want to have that, you shouldn't want to be labeled the same way. Just be different. Like you said you highly value monogamy. Everybody, you know, I highly value monogamy also. So it's just some people do, some people don't. It's just, you know, like you said, it just depends on how you was raised and what was brought up before you while you were, you know, being a youngin' and coming up.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so here's one question. It says this. It says, okay, why won't a man leave a relationship instead of cheating? And then why do they always risk it all for a few minutes of pleasure?
Man, I can't speak for nobody else, but just for me personally, I guess that if you generalize the question, if you know she gonna take you back, where's the risk?
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that's what it boiled down to. Not saying that what the man is doing is right, you know what I mean? Clearly is wrong, you know what I mean? But if I go 95 down the freeway and I don't ever get pulled over, why should I go 65?
Right.
You know what
true.
I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean, If it ain't no consequences of your actions,
Right,
then hey, I'm
right.
gonna keep doing this.
So, and I'm not trying to pass judgment and put the onus on the woman, but I think at the end of the day, like our women need to hold themselves to a higher regard and a higher standard of what they're gonna be willing to accept. Same
Yeah.
thing for men, because it go both ways. It's women that cheat too.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
Do me a favor, reread that question because I want to take it apart.
Okay. It says, why won't men leave a relationship instead of cheating? And then they say, why are they so willing to risk it all for a few minutes of pleasure?
Let me speak from personal experience.
Okay.
It's not a few minutes of pleasure. I had a conversation with someone. A lot of men don't cheat up; they cheat down.
Right.
We cheat down because when I'm there, and I'm giving you me, when I'm giving you me, you're either degrading me, not hearing me, or devaluing what I have to say. So when I go out there, it's not for a few minutes. It's called every man wants to come home to peace.
Right.
Every man wants to come home from work, especially, and he knows when he's out here working 60 hours a week.
Right.
The last thing you want to do is come home to a whole lot of boppity bop. Give me an hour when I walk in the door. Let me relax. Let me chill. Because I've understood that. And then coming home, sometimes you just don't get that. So when you go find someone that just has that small conversation with you about how was your day? How are you doing? It's not about the cheating. It's about the where my soul is now.
Right.
I need peace in my soul. Every man wants peace and respect.
Right.
When I don't get it at home, I don't look for it, but it will find you when you're not looking.
Right. Yeah. At the same thing, what you were saying was, you said this gentleman works 60 hours a week. He's coming home. He's tired. And then I hear a lot of women say, well, I've been sitting at home dealing with the kids all day. At what point do I get my break?
And it's not about break.
Right.
They're asking us how we feel, and I get that. But it's if I'm out there doing what I'm doing, I know you're home doing. That's why I'm out there hustling, breaking my back for this. So when I come home, give me a minute because we as men, as black men, we deal with this world a lot differently than any other human being out there because we've already got 2 strikes on us, and sometimes we don't know if we're gonna make it home from work safely.
Right.
So we've got this world. I need to decompress when I get home. Give me a minute. Let me decompress. Let me get rid of it because the boss has been on my neck. The police been following me. I got all this going on. Give me a moment to relax. Give me a moment to breathe. And then I can be lover. I can be husband. I can be father. I can be this. I can be that. But you've got to give me a minute to get this work hat off my body.
Right.
Because if you don't let me get this work hat off this body, because I got stressed, you don't know what my coworker did. I'm trying to let this stuff go so when I come home, I can be the best version of me. But if I'm not given that peace and that place to relax, I can't be the best version of me for us. So what happens is we implode and explode.
Right.
And then sometimes when we shut down, we don't say nothing else. We just get quiet because we already checked out. Right. Mentally, we out the door. We down the street because I can't. It's like the Bible says the prophet has no peace in his own home.
Right.
That's a problem when I can't come home to my own home and just, put my feet up.
Yeah, that's true.
That's very, very well said. Very well said. You took it to another level as far as diving in on a deeper aspect. I think that holds true in certain situations. You know what I mean? Like I said, the examples that I had before me, that just ain't the case. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just more so it's just, hey, I'm out here just being loose, knocking everything down. You know what I mean? But I personal experience also, I can tell you that it's only so much you can take. You know what I mean? So to go back to the question of risking it all for a few minutes of pleasure, it's not really a few minutes. You know what I mean? What value do you put on a peace of mind?
Right.
That's very important. So if I feel like I can get a peace of mind over here, I think at the end of the day, communication is key. Yeah. If you're not getting that peace of mind at home, being able to sit down and communicate and talk to your spouse, talk to your significant other versus stepping out, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think it's just all, we creatures of habit. You know, nobody wants to start over. You know what I mean? If you done been with somebody 3, 4, 5, 10 plus years, it's a lot easier to where, I gotta uproot my family, or I gotta go to divorce court, child support court, and this, that, and third. Am I only gonna get to see my kids on the weekend? So that might be the easy way out in that individual's mind for me to just, step out, go over here, have my little side piece, and still come home and keep my family intact. And I'm still, you know what I mean? So that's the only way that I could think of it from that standpoint. Me personally, I think it's worth going that extra mile and doing things in the right manner, because you bringing turmoil into your household with that, and now that's bleeding off to the kids, and it just have a snowball effect from there.
That's it. And and it's exactly what you're saying. I'm not even gonna comment on that to even mess that up. I'm going ahead and let you that's true. Now, me and my buddy right here, we were discussing this prior before you arrived here. I'm gonna break this question down in two parts. Okay. I'm gonna read it the original way. Then I'm gonna break it down in two parts. The original way was this: why don't men ask for help with mental health issues? So then I break it down this way. I'm gonna say. Then again, I was saying, women want to know, why don't men ask for help for directions as far as going somewhere? Then I just broke it down and say, no, I'm gonna just do it in two parts. Why don't men ask for help? And then why don't men ask for help with mental health?
Okay.
I'm like him. The directions thing is generational, and it's also where you were raised. Because most of us here on the West Coast, we pretty much, it's not hard to get lost. But if you go down south, East Coast, you can get lost. But they're taught a man is going to be a man, is going to be a man. Some of us, I got lost as a kid.
Right.
I don't mind asking for help. If I know where I'm going, excuse me, where's this?
Right.
It's a personal thing. It's a confidence thing, because some men don't want to look like they're not in control.
Right.
And so we want to believe it. But as we were talking, if we're a team, and you're sitting in the passenger seat, back in the day, during the green, he said co-captain. I heard it. Back in the day when it was the green book, I'm driving, who's holding the directions?
The co-pilot.
So if we're going the same direction,
it's
not a competition. It's a journey we take together. One more time. It's a journey we take. One more time. It's a journey we take together. Together, everyone achieves more. Together. Because if we don't go the same direction, if I'm going this way and you keep trying to go that way, this car is going to either rip apart or our relationship's ripping apart.
Right.
We're going this way. Let us go this way. That's just the directions part.
Yeah. So what about I'll let you handle the mental health part.
Mental health, I mean, coming from somebody personally that, I was willing to seek counseling, at a certain point in time in my life. So I think in the Black community, mental health is something that's kind of ignored. You know what I mean? We just kind of just be like, oh, he just being crazy, Pookie tripping, you know what I mean? Or whatever it might be, but at the end of the day, it's real.
Yeah.
It's real. I dealt with it firsthand, you know what I mean, in the previous relationship. And it ain't no joke. It's to the point to where for me doing my own individual research and stuff like that, knowing that these things can be passed down hereditary, I need to make sure that my kids didn't get this passed down to them. You know what I mean? And learning different little telltale signs and stuff like that. So I'm not against, opening up about mental health. We hearing it a lot more in music. We seeing it a lot more in TV shows and stuff like that, among other things that are detrimental to our community too. But at the end of the day, I think it's more open. People are being more open about it in today's time. But that's something that's, in my opinion, just now really starting to get broken, because I never heard nobody in my family, from uncles, aunties, grandmas, my dad, or either my mom or my dad's side, you know what I mean? As far as with, oh, he need to go get counseling, or oh, he need to go do this. And, that wasn't a conversation in my household, you know what I mean? Yeah. But when I was going through my situation, I took my kids to counseling also. I'm not a professional, you know what I mean? Sometimes our children shut down and don't want to share certain things with us. And as much as it hurt, Because I'm telling you from personal experience, it hurt me to know that my child is willing to talk to a complete stranger and not talk to me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So that may possibly have something to do with the stigma behind it also. You know what I mean? Is that making me look like a bad parent because my kid won't talk to me, but they willing to talk to, you know, Susie from Kaiser? You know what I mean? So whatever the situation may be, you know, I had to bite that bullet because I knew that was going to be beneficial to my children, you know? So...
Can I chime in on that?
You sure can.
As I went through the same issue, I went through personal therapy, and I went because some friends were asking me. We were in group therapy, and I went because they asked me to go just to see. When I first went in, I was judgmental. I went for one meeting, and 2 years later, I was still in the therapy, not realizing what it was doing for me. Because what it does is when you go to therapy, it allows you to look at self. Because my mother used to teach me as a kid, when you point at someone, you got 3 more pointing right back at you.
Right.
When you look at that, you start taking accountability of who you are. And as a man, it helps you take accountability because it teaches us how to apologize. And for me to understand what you're saying, as a parent, it makes you look like a greater parent because you allow your child an avenue to actually express. Because in the Black community, it was my mother taught us what happens in this house.
Stay in this house.
Do as I say. Now that's right. You know
And
what
so
I mean?
we didn't have an avenue to express how I feel. I'm hurt today. I'm angry. Instead of why? Nope. Do what I say. Shut up. And it's like, and do we buck up against our parents? Of course we did. But as a father, for us to say, hey, my child needs help and I can't help my child. Yes, it hurts. But to see your child on the other side of that being healed and better, man, there's no better feeling than know that I was able to help my child in a way that I personally could not.
Right. Absolutely.
They all, in the middle of the height of what they were good at, they said, hey, I need to take some time out.
Your father used to tell you, or your uncle used to tell you, oh, you know, real men don't cry.
Right.
Real men don't seek help. They figure it out.
Your experience from having an alcoholic parent is going to mold you and push you into one or two directions.
Please stay tuned for the next part of this segment.
Let's talk about it, talk about it. Let's talk about it, talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it, talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. That girl from LA and that